It's now official. Tottenham Hotspur have appointed Thomas Frank on a 3-year deal. It will run until 2028. A fee has been set for Heung-min Son at £50 million, according to reports in Asia. Romero has thanked Ange Postecoglou just 30 minutes after Spurs announced the appointment of Thomas Frank. He has also issued a huge dig to the Tottenham Hotspur board. Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. This is another episode of Tottenham News, where I'll be going through all of the latest Spurs news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you listen to this on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. So it is now official. Thomas Frank is the new head coach of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. At 8:15 p.m. on Thursday, the 12th of June, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club put out the following statement. We are delighted to announce the appointment of Thomas Frank as our new head coach on a contract that will run until 2028. Thomas has extensive experience in English football, having joined Brentford in 2016, since becoming one of the longest-serving current managers in the Premier League. During his time at Brentford, he transformed the club, moving them up from the Championship to an established Premier League side, consistently and significantly outperforming expectations for an extended period of time. In Thomas, we are appointing one of the most progressive head coaches within the game. He has a proven track record in player and squad development, and we look forward to him leading the team as we prepare for the season ahead. Tottenham Hotspur Football Club have also stated that Thomas Frank will be joined by Justin Cochran, who will be the first team assistant head coach, Chris Haslam, who will be the head of performance and first team assistant coach, and Joe Newton, the first team coach analyst, and also Andreas Georgeson, who will be the first team assistant coach, and he will be arriving from Manchester United. On Thursday afternoon, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club announced the departures of Mile Jedinak, Nick Montgomery and Sergio Raimondo from their roles as assistant coaches, and the club stated, we should like to thank them for their contribution to the club and wish them every success for the future. Now, around 30 minutes after Tottenham Hotspur Football Club announced the arrival of Thomas Frank and his coaching team, Tottenham Hotspur defender Christian Romero wrote the following on social media, thanking former boss Ange Postecoglou. He said, Ange, thank you for these 2 incredible seasons. You are a fantastic coach, but above all, a great person who deserves the best. From day one, you paved the way despite the many obstacles that always existed and will always exist. Beyond everything, we won a trophy and went down in the history of this beautiful club, which is the only thing that matters. I wish you the best because you deserve the best, and thank you for everything. Now, before Thomas Frank was officially announced as the new Tottenham Hotspur head coach, former Tottenham and Brentford midfielder Christian Eriksen has been talking about Thomas Frank becoming the next Spurs boss. He said, I think he is the right coach for Tottenham. I think he is the perfect match for Tottenham, and it would be great if Thomas takes on the challenge. His personality, his way of playing and his way of being, the club considering where they were last season. Yes, they won a trophy, of course, but they are in the process of building something, and I'm sure that Thomas is a good man to bring in. Now, according to various reports in Asia, they are stating that Daniel Levy has set a asking price for Tottenham Hotspur captain Heung-min Son this summer. The Tottenham Hotspur legend is open to remaining in North London for another season and is currently preparing to play Champions League football and the Super Cup final on the 13th of August. But the fee set apparently by Chairman Daniel Levy for Heung-min Son is £50 million. Reports in Germany are stating that Tottenham Hotspur are speaking to Bayern Munich continually about the possible re-signing of Matisse Tell, either on loan or a permanent transfer. And one of the Bayern Munich directors has actually come out and said, we're speaking to Tottenham, that is no secret, we will see what happens. And the Times newspaper have just stated that Tottenham will be looking at possible centre-backs, defensive midfielders and wingers in this summer transfer window. The Times have also stated that Thomas Frank's first job as Spurs boss is talking to Heung-min Son about his future and Christian Romero about his future. Now, Alfie Whiteman has spoken out about leaving Tottenham Hotspur Football Club after such a long time. He said, it's emotional because I've loved my time at Spurs. The club is so close to my heart, but I want to be out there whether you win or lose. Whether you save a penalty or the ball goes through your legs, that's what I've always wanted. And talking about his role at Tottenham, Alfie Whiteman said some people think it is just training and then you go home at 1 p.m. and then watch movies. But it is about prepping for games tactically, intense training for the subs the day after, while the starters are on recovery. It is hard work every day. The games are what people see, but day to day you feel a part of it. You might not. It might not be in my appearances column on Wikipedia, but I don't think you get to the final if you're not one big team working to achieve something. Now, my thoughts on everything in this episode. I must say I'm absolutely delighted. Within a week of sacking Ange Postecoglou, Spurs have got the manager deal done. Of course, it has taken a little while longer than probably they expected and wanted, because Thomas Frank wanted his whole backroom staff to come with him. And I think that is a real positive as well, because they have done such a fantastic job at Brentford as a collective, and Thomas Frank wants all of those staff to continue that work in the Premier League at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And I think that is great that they are all staying together. Of course, Justin Cochran comes back to Tottenham because he has been a coach at so many different levels at Hotspur Way, and of course, with Wayne Burnett in the under-23s as well, under-21s as it is now. But yeah, a lot has happened within this week. Ange Postecoglou going out the door. A lot of his backroom staff now have gone out the door. Thomas Frank has now officially been appointed. All of his backroom staff have now been employed by Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And what I would say is I'm glad it has been done very quickly, because when you go back to the days of when Jose Mourinho went out the door, we waited 72 days for a manager. And it's good that this has moved pretty quickly, especially because the transfer window reopens on Monday the 16th of June, and it will be open until the 1st of September. So hopefully Thomas Frank can start immediately, get going, plan for the future, and get ready for pre-season and the brand new season. But I thought the club statement, although it was very short and a bit odd in actual fact, because whenever a new player signs, particularly a manager, a key figure at the club, they put out interviews, they put out videos almost immediately, and this hasn't been the case. And there has been no statement either from Chairman Daniel Levy about the arrival of Thomas Frank. Perhaps that will follow in the future. I don't know, but this does seem a little bit different to what Spurs have done in the past. But the short statement where it says about the extensive experience in English football, and being one of the longest serving managers in the Premier League, and making significantly outperforming expectations on an extended period of time. Completely agree with that. And where they also go on to say that he is one of the most progressive head coaches within the game, has a proven track record in player and squad development. That's exactly what I've been saying in the last couple of editions. And again, what I always say about these major decisions at a football club, it is mixed within the fan base. I think a lot of people are very pleased with this decision, because I feel like we are going to get that pragmatic style, but we're also going to get that attacking style as well, because he loves offensive football. But I feel like it's going to be a really calming balance for the football club, and this could be a very good move. And I really do hope that it works out for Thomas Frank, and I really do hope, and I say this every single time a manager comes in, by the way, I fully get behind the manager, and I want it to work for the manager, and I'd love to see it work for Thomas Frank. Of course, Ange lifted us to the Europa League. He'll always go down in the club's history. No one can ever take that away from him, regardless of what people do say about Ange Postecoglou. But Ange started this rebuild, and it's now time for Thomas Frank to, take on that rebuild, continue what Ange Postecoglou did and set out. And has put in place the foundations for this rebuild, and it's now about Thomas Frank, taking that on and progressing. We've seen him, improve a lot of players at Brentford over the years, and this is exactly what we want to see now with this Tottenham Hotspur squad. And I feel like after a couple of signings, I think that everyone, a lot of people within the fan base will be on a real high again, and we will be excited for the new season. I'm certainly hoping so anyway. I know there's a lot of names going around at the moment about Spurs being interested in so many different players, but once Johan Lange and once Thomas Frank start working together again, because of course they've worked together before, it could be, a really good team of people. And of course there has been a board shake-up as well. So, watch this space. Let's hope that we can start signing players and improving this squad. And of course, when Thomas Frank gets on the training pitch with a lot of these players, I'm sure he will improve a lot of these players as well. So really, really looking forward to seeing that part, that Thomas Frank can improve players. And of course, as well, that I've mentioned before, that he has worked with younger players. Justin Cochran as well has worked with a number of young players. So this team of people, not only Thomas Frank, but his backroom staff, are very, very used to working with young players, developing them so they can go into the first team. So, we know that we've got a fantastic development squad and setup at the football club. And, hopefully we'll be able to see a number of the, or more of the youth team coming through to the first team, because they certainly do give opportunities. Romero's message on social media within 30 minutes, that was obviously saved in draft, for this, appointment to be made. And then Romero thought, bang, there you go. That's what I'm going to put out half an hour after the manager is announced. I'd actually be surprised if Romero comes back and plays for Tottenham. I know the Times are stating that two jobs on Thomas Frank's list, for when he actually gets started properly, are talking to Romero and talking to Heung-min Son. I'll talk about Son in a minute, but with the Romero situation, Romero aimed a real dig at the board a couple of months ago, which the football club would have absolutely hated. And I'm sure that they hate the timing of this. The timing of this was really poor from Romero. A nice message to Ange Postecoglou, can't take that away, but the timing of it is really poor. And, another huge dig at the board, which I know the board are not going to like at all. When you've got a player, he's one of our best players in the squad. He wore the captain's armband for the final. Of course, when Son come on, Romero gave it over. But Ange Postecoglou had a lot of time for Romero. Romero had a lot of time for Ange Postecoglou. And we know that a number of these players in this squad are far from happy with the decision about Ange Postecoglou being sacked by Tottenham, particularly after winning the trophy. But Thomas Frank is a very, very calm person, and I'm sure that he will come into the football club and he will read these situations extremely quickly and very well, and deal with them very quickly because and very well, because that's the type of guy he is. The Son situation is going to be an interesting one, because of course the other day he didn't want to really talk about his future. He said, we'll see. I feel like Son is still thinking and pondering on his future, whether he wants to be at Spurs for another season or not. And I feel like it is his choice. Spurs to put a £50 million price tag on him. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it's a lot lower than that. And if Son actually said to the football club, look, I feel like it's time for me to leave, I don't think Spurs would actually stay, get in his way of doing that. And I think that that's very fair, because I feel like this decision should be Son's to make, whether he wants to leave or stay for another year. If he was to leave, I'm sure there'll be so many clubs around Europe, wanting his services. Perhaps we could even see, with Sane now going to Galatasaray, perhaps Bayern Munich might put a cheeky bid in for him to have that reunion with Harry Kane. Imagine that. But Son, I think a lot of people feel this way as well. You know, don't get me wrong, I'd love Son to stay, and if it was my choice, I'd love to see Son stay for another season because I feel like he's still got a lot to give. And of course, it'll be interesting to see what Spurs do in the transfer window. Spurs should start lining up a replacement now for Son, even if we're going to keep him for another season or not. We should be lining that replacement up now. But you know, wouldn't it be a great moment for Son to go out on a high because yet another manager has come in? Does he want to work under a different manager, another manager? Because let's face it, since he's been here, you know, he's been here for 10 years. The amount of managers that he's worked under, a ridiculous number. But it's whether he wants to go out on a high, you know, remembering, you know, his last game or last games, you know, the final, and then of course the 4-1 home defeat against Brighton. But then again, that day, I don't think that's going to be remembered for that poor result at home. That day is going to be remembered for everyone parading that trophy after the match. And Son sitting on the centre spot, you know, cuddling that trophy. That is probably what he's going to remember about that game. And of course, he did that goodbye or that wave to the fans. So I suppose he's gone away from that last game of the season thinking, well, okay, I've said a goodbye. So if I do go, then I feel like I've done it. But if I do come back, then it just seems like, you know, I've just been waving to the fans and, you know, parading the trophy around yet again. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. But like I keep saying, get behind the manager. I hope the board get behind the manager. I hope that the recruitment team give Thomas Frank the best possible chance of doing a really, really good job at the football club, because we've gone through so many different managers over the years, and he's been given a 3-year contract. And I hope that we're not here in another 18 months to 2 years talking about yet another manager because it hasn't worked out for X, Y, and Z reasons. Because I feel that if you give the manager the best possible tools, and the club have come out and said, you know, on their club statement, when Ange Postecoglou was sacked, we want to be fighting on all fronts. Now, if you want to be fighting on all fronts, we need a lot stronger squad in terms of depth, especially in the Champions League. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button, like, share, and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do hit the follow button and leave a review if you can. Have a great week. I'll see you on the next one. Come on, you Spurs.